Hey there, Jeff Manchester, Manchester Music, welcome. I'm excited because in this video, I'm going to be walking through Beyerdynamic's new Pro X series aimed at content creators and those who, to some extent, consume content. And I'm going to be talking about 4 products, 2 microphones and 2 sets of headphones. In this video, we're going to look at the microphones, the M70 Pro X. Yep, that's what it's called, a dynamic microphone. And then the M90 Pro X, a condenser microphone. If you want to see the video about the headphones, we're talking about the DT700 and then the DT900. Click on the little video link to just jump right over there because we're staying in microphone land here in this one. Let's start with the dynamic microphone, okay? The M70 Pro X, which I have in front of me. Dynamic mics are really favored, I think, by creators because of their construction and build and the way they, receive and interpret sound. They're built in such a way that you can get close to them, and they're pretty forgiving. You can get really loud with them, high SPLs, and they'll take it. Also, they reject a lot of the room, so if you have a noisy room or a lot of echoes or whatever, you can get pretty close, and you're not going to hear that stuff to some extent. And also, their construction allows for a bit of a kind of innate diffusion of plosives and pops and stuff like that. Even though I do have a pop filter here, sometimes I don't really need one with a dynamic mic. Of course, the trade-offs are you need to kind of put a lot of gain and juice into them to get sound in and record. So you might hear about people using a cloud lifter or things like that. But on the whole, dynamic mics are really great to put in front of loud people or loud, kick drum beaters, things like that, because they can take it. You might notice that I have another microphone next to me, the SM7B, the mic of the channel, okay? The reason that's here is because as I talk and do my little demo, I'm going to switch between both of them so you can hear the context of what dynamic microphones sound like and how they differ in their sound quality. I don't mean quality as in one is better than the other. I just mean they just sound different. And I know a lot of people are probably going to wonder, what does the SM7B sound like next to this guy? So I thought it might be fun to just kind of go between both. What I'm going to do is just talk about the specs, switching between both, and then I'll deliver my kind of verdict about the M70 Pro X. A lot of numbers and letters to kind of remember. So let's just talk about the Pro X series, and then I'll do my little kind of review, and then we'll switch to the condenser, the M90 Pro X, okay? All right, here we go. And for nerds, I'm going right into a Scarlett Focusrite, rest in peace, Rupert, 2i2. Same thing with the SM7B. I do have a cloud lifter. It's not a cloud, it's an M1 Dynamite thing, or I can never remember, again, letters and numbers. SE1 Dynamite, going from the Shure SM7B into the Focusrite, but this guy, I don't have an extra cloud lifter kind of gain booster, so I'm just going right in, I'm cranking the gain. I did need a lot of gain to get a good kind of competitive signal with the SM7B, but we're not going into any kind of DSP. There's no kind of digital preamp or compression happening. We're just kind of cleanly going into my Mac over here, okay? And now I'm just going to read you and flip back and forth. I'm already doing it. Some of the specs on this microphone. Have a listen, use your ears to see the different tonalities between the two of them. So, Beyerdynamic says that the dynamic M70 Pro X broadcast microphone delivers the very best sound for streams and podcasts. An assertive speech-optimized sound, a shock-mounted capsule, perfect attenuation of popping sounds, and the well-crafted design meet the requirements and needs of today's creators. Equipped with an XLR connector, the M70 Pro X is the perfect choice for streamers, podcasters, and YouTubers. I'm a YouTuber. Dynamic microphones are less sensitive, but also handle all kinds of loudness without distortion, which comes in helpful for screaming vocals or very close proximity talking, ASMR, right? They pick up directly what's in front of them and suppress pop noises or environmental noises, which is perfect for podcasting and streaming. They have an assertive sound, they say. High feedback immunity and insensitive to impact or handling noise. We're not really going to get much of that here because I have everything kind of mounted, shock mounted, spider mounted, mounted with my little Hercules mic stand. So I'm not going to really be touching or rubbing except when I do it by accident. So if we keep going here, we get a bit more literature here. The controlled proximity effect results in a controlled low frequency response, which has many advantages. Beyerdynamic says. Plosive noises or pop noises will appear in the low-end frequencies, which are automatically suppressed by this acoustic design. Furthermore, when moving away from the microphone, the bass response will not decrease and your voice will sound steady, clear, and transparent, regardless if you're very close to the microphone or a little further away. Let's read that one more time. Regardless of whether you are very close to the microphone or a little bit further away. Can you hear any boost kind of discrepancies there? Do we have a nice consistent kind of bass presence? Let's find out in post. So you're probably wondering, when is he going to stop reading stuff and just talk to us? Well, now is the time that I'm going to stop doing that, because I will deliver my verdict now. I have been playing with this microphone for a little bit. I've been sitting on this Beyerdynamic stuff, not able to publish, so I'm able to now. And here's my verdict. I'm very impressed with this microphone. Will it become the mic of the channel? Because I do like dynamic mics for all the reasons that we talked about and I read about. Not sure. Probably need to test a little bit more. I like the look of this microphone. I like the fact that you get a pop filter included, which is wonderful. Like, who does that? The pop filter is just there. Some in the comments might be ready to tell me exactly who gives you a pop filter with the microphones. But that was a nice little bonus. You get a nice carrying case. You get a nice sleeve for the microphone itself. You get the shock mount, plastic, but, you know, maybe German plastic. And hey, shock mount is better than none. So I really like that. The sound to me was very comparable to the SM7B, again, the microphone of the channel, right? So that was very nice to me, that I'm like at home and I could probably fool a lot of people and they wouldn't know which is which, especially if they're on their phones, right? The one area that I found I was a little less impressed with the M70 Pro X is in its handling of the plosives. Now, when I speak and do videos, I try my best to not focus on my B's and P's, okay? But what you're going to hear now is a pure test with no noise reduction. They're going to be gain matched, just as this video and everything that I was doing earlier when I was switching back and forth will be gain matched. But you're going to hear no gain matching, no mouth declicking, sorry everybody, but no deplosiving either. And just listen to how each microphone handles the P's and B's in this passage. Specifically listen for, I think, the word pepper. I was surprised at how each one handled it. Have a listen. Peter picked peppers by the pier. Peter picked peppers by the pier. Piercing, plosives, punch. I usually soften my B's and my P's when I'm actually doing a video. Peter picked peppers by the pier. Peter picked peppers by the pier. Piercing, plosives, punch. I usually soften my B's and my P's when I'm actually doing a video. Okay, so again, tonality, not that different, right? But the B's and P's were handled a bit differently. But here's another area where I'm very impressed with the M70 Pro X. The self-noise, or the kind of noise, whatever it is, just isn't there like it is for me in the SM7B. I'm not sure what that is about the construction, about the Beyer stuff. I don't know. But I was surprised at the discrepancy between, let's just call them self-noise floors in both microphones. One of the big issues I have with the SM7B, as you might have seen in the video that I did about the SM7B, is just there's a weird noise. And I've plugged into different jacks and I've moved the cables and I've done the best I can, but I cannot get rid of what sounds like a weird, I don't know, the soul of the microphone is just a little noisy. And that always really bothered me. And I don't get that with this guy. Now, you can use noise reduction technology. I use RX, surprise, surprise. But the fact that it's there and you want to get things right at the source is what I learned in audio engineering school is a bit disappointing. So with this microphone, as you heard, I hope you did, put the, listen again, go back and crank your headphones or monitors. We don't really have that self noise, which I love, because the less I have to take away in post, the better, because in audio, you don't get something for nothing. Yes, we can reduce, we can EQ and all that stuff, but something is kind of gone on the other end of that processing. So I'm very kind of happy with how things turned out between these two microphones. Let's see if I keep using the M70 Pro X Beyerdynamic, but overall, I'm very impressed. Great job, Beyerdynamic, with this M70 Pro X microphone. Maybe it'll become the microphone of the channel. I don't know. More tests, we'll see, but very, very impressed. I think creators will also be very impressed. Let's switch over to the condenser test. So we have the M90 Pro X, which I'll swap out this microphone for, but we also have a LCT Lewitt 540S. Now again, this is not about which one is better. It's just about differences. So don't think of this in terms of which mic sounds better. Just things are different. Some mics suit different people better. And I want there to be some context for the Beyer series. Let's flip the set and go over to the other condenser microphones. Now let's move on to the second part of the video, the condenser microphone, the M90 Pro X, which is joined by, not versus, but joined by the LCT 540S from Lewitt. So, condenser microphones, let's talk about it. Maybe you can hear the sirens in the background. They are sensitive. They're very sensitive. They pick things up, and that's why people love them if they're producing music or anything really, because they will really capture the full spectrum of sound of whatever you're putting in front of a piano, a singer, a guitar, a bass. But that also comes with some negatives, right? Because if, let's say, you're capturing a rapper, a singer, a podcaster, you're probably going to get the scratching, right? You're probably going to get the lip smacks and pops and clicks and plosives a bit more, in front of you than you would otherwise. And that's just a testament to how, just by design, these things are meant to capture a pretty kind of wide spectrum. The flashlight's much brighter and larger on these guys than the dynamic microphone that we talked about earlier. So, with all that said, we are going to do what we did last time. I'm going to cycle between these two mics. I'm going to talk a little bit about what Beyerdynamic has said about their M90 Pro X. And you can listen, use your ears, and go back and forth. And then I'll do a nice kind of warts and all reveal of both with no noise suppression, level matched, of course. These are level matched as well, but no noise reduction, deplosiving, and you can just really hear both mics side by side and decide for yourself what the differences are and how you feel about them. So let's hop into some of the lit here so you can learn more about the M90. All right, getting my NPR voice here. Beyerdynamic's M90 Pro X true condenser microphone is a XLR microphone for home, project, and studio recording. The microphone is the perfect choice for recording vocals, speech, and instruments, so everything. In addition to its warm, detailed sound, the M90 Pro X offers an exceptional signal-to-noise ratio, optimal attenuation of popping sounds, and excellent workmanship. It meets the requirements and needs of today's creators. Let's flip a little bit more to, for the new folks on the channel, new to microphones that is, condenser microphones. What are they? What do they do? How do they do their thing? Condenser microphones are sensitive and deliver a higher output voltage. Therefore, they can be used with every mixing desk or audio interface regardless of preamp quality. They pick up a lot of detail and even the very quiet sounds. They're perfect for musical vocal recordings or voiceovers. Filigree, I use that word, and especially high frequencies finely resolve sound is what they pick up, and they're good for home recording or studio recording. And speaking about the electrical acoustic design, we have the M90 Pro X, they say, is specially developed electronics used in here that dovetail with the capsule and have been incorporated into Pro X microphones. This guarantees a very low level of inherent noise and a high acoustic pressure ceiling, which ensures zero distortion transmission. The amplifier circuit has been redeveloped from the ground up. The latest components, like a low-noise operational amplifier and a precision voltage controller, form the foundation for the microphone's clear, warm sound. So that is the lit on the M90. Why don't we just cut to the warts and all example? I tried to do some pops. I tried to get some clicks in there. I didn't have to try hard because I have a lot of them inherently. It's like part of my identity to be mouth clicky and annoying. So let's listen to both and let's see how each kind of fare in terms of the overall sound. Okay, so here's the next test. Warts and all, we have noise in the background. I'm saying words with P's and B's and D's. Peter picked peppers by the pier. Peter picked peppers by the pier. But what I want you to listen for is just the, who shows up, mouth clicks, plosives, noise. Okay, so here's the next test. Warts and all, we have noise in the background. I'm saying words with P's and B's and D's. Peter picked peppers by the pier. Peter picked peppers by the pier. But what I want you to listen for is just the, you know, who shows up? Mouth clicks, plosives, noise, self noise, all that stuff. Now, if you're listening to that on some good headphones or good monitors, I think the thing that jumps out to you, that jumped out to me, is just how close in tone these two microphones are. And again, this is not a competition. It's just about the differences, and one is not better than the other. The thing that I'm really surprised with is just how rich and full frequency and vibrant the M90 is compared to the Lewitt LCT540S, which is, I think, a little more expensive. So you have, I think, equal tonality and frequency response, perhaps not on a scientific level, but I don't know how many people would be able to tell the difference between those two microphones if they were blindfolded, for example. So that's the first thing. I'm also very impressed at both microphones, but let's stay on the Beyer, at their ability to handle plosives. I almost feel like we got more plosives with the dynamic microphones. I had the pop shield, all that stuff going. But with these, I didn't really hear them, and that could be a testament, again, to the construction of the M90. But that's another thing I was surprised by. People who've been on this channel for a long time know that I started with a AT2020 USB-I, which is a condenser microphone. Although now that it's USB, I'm not sure exactly if it's a true condenser. But the issue with that one is that it was almost too bright, and I think that's because AT Audio-Technica, that's a Japanese company, and that audience really loves bright, kind of in-your-face sound. But this is not that bright. It's car going in the background, condensers will pick that up. It's just the right kind of tone. And I almost kind of wish that I had something closer to this when I first started with this channel. And who knows? This, I know I say this with the last mics too, but could be the next mic on the channel. I don't know, but I'm very impressed at a lot of factors around this microphone. And again, just like the other one, the M70, this one comes with a pop filter, which is awesome. A gooseneck one at that, not a little clip-on one. The clip-on ones are great, but I think really cool that we have a nice kind of full one that we can bend around and stuff like that. Another spider, elastic spider, shock mount, whatever you want to call it. XLR in, one polar pattern, obviously, cardioid, I believe, and side addressed, just like other condenser microphones. The dynamics were top addressed, but I'm more interested in your kind of feelings about both microphones and now the condenser ones. Please let me know in the comments what you think. But I'm very impressed. I think they're both great microphones and great for people that are creating with their voice, with a guitar, with an instrument, whatever. And why don't we leave it there? And in the next video, perhaps you already skipped to it because it's about the headphones, we'll cover the cans of both. And I'll be talking about how I compared them and tested them against my two favorite tracking and mixing mastering headphones. On the mixing mastering side, we have the Sennheiser 650 HDs. And on the tracking side, we have the Beyerdynamic, surprise, surprise, DT770s, I believe they're called. I haven't looked at them in a while on the side. I just kind of put them on and do what I have to do. So see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. And Beyer, thank you very much for sending me the microphones and the headphones. See ya.